Amen. We are back, and we are getting some answers to our homework assignment. Thank you so very, very much. We've got one. The person didn't give us their name, and they are saying a miracle is a thing that is impossible for man to do, only God can perform. I think that's pretty good. Now, you didn't plan on doing this, but you've got to tell this story. You said that when you told your story of the glass, your father told you a story.
Yes.
Recount that story, please.
Well, he was selling books, canvassing, and that was against the law.
Mm-hmm.
And they would catch you, you would go to prison for the rest of your life, probably. And he was avoiding main roads. And he, together with his friend Benjamin, they would go by the road through the forest, and they took, instead of the main bridge, that the police could catch them, because people from the previous village, some of them would say, hey, there are some people selling religious books.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have to stay away from the road in order to avoid the police.
Mm-hmm.
So they took a different bridge that was old, narrow, over a gorge, pretty deep, rocks, water down. And the bridge had pieces of wood boards that were some of them missing, some of them rotten.
So just rotten. Some of the boards are just not there.
Not
they were gone.
Totally missing.
Totally gone.
So you have to be very careful how you step. And it was evening. As they were talking, Benjamin, that was walking behind my father and going slow, called him and said, Pavel, don't move. So my father stopped and looked back. What is it? And he said, look down. And there were like 2 meters of nothing.
The boards were all gone. The decks were gone, yeah.
Were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like he stepped 1 foot on air, the other one on air, and now it was 1 foot on wood, and still the foot behind was still on
air.
Mm-hmm. And he told me the story. He said, probably God sent his angels to put their palm and hold my foot so I'll not be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the same God put his angels to hold the glass for you.
Hold that glass for you. Wow. Powerful, powerful, powerful stories.
Yes.
So this idea of God standing up and showing himself powerful in your family was not a new thing with you. There was some history with that. But you went to the army, and we're going to do some of the stuff in just a moment, but you ran into some problems with army service also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are many of them. One of them, I remember asking God to wake me up early in the morning so I would have enough time to pray. I didn't want to start the day without prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, I didn't have a Bible, but my girlfriend, that is my wife, she would send me letters, and she would write paragraphs from the Spirit of Prophecy, Bible verses, and words of encouragement. And I would pray, and God would wake me up early in the morning, like 4:30, and I would stay under the blanket because I didn't want anybody to see me. And with a small flashlight, I would read and pray and read and pray and spend some time with God.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would slowly, under the blanket, get dressed, slow. When the trumpet would call soldiers to wake up,
mm-hmm.
we would have just a extremely short time to get dressed and be in front of the garrison in the front yard. I would always be the first one because I was already dressed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember one specific time I prayed and said, God, please wake me up early enough so I can start the day with you. And God woke me up at 2:30. And I said, come on, this is too early. And I wanted to go back to sleep. And God spoke in my mind and said, didn't you ask me to wake you up?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, then I'm going to pray, study, and get dressed. And I got dressed, and then I wanted to go back to sleep when the trumpet started to sound. And they had a drill. It was like a war alarm.
Yes.
It was just a drill, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was sleepy. Most of them got punished for being late. I was the first one there. And so they asked me, what type of reward you want? A picture with the flag, a few days at home, what do you prefer? And sure, I took the days at home. Then a different time, there were floods, So they called the army to go and pick up the corn because the corn was in the water.
I remember that story. Yes, 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 yes.
And I would wake up early every day, and they didn't have a clock, an alarm clock. So the lieutenant asked one soldier to wake everybody up, and he slept longer than anybody else. So then the other one, and then one of the soldiers, his name was Adrian, he told the lieutenant, Goia wakes up early because I asked him, and he said God is waking him up to pray. So if you want somebody to wake us up, Goia can wake us up. So the lieutenant said, Goia, can you wake us up tomorrow? I said, yeah. What time? 5:30. He said, okay. How do you wake up? And I said, well, I am praying and God wakes me up. Yeah, sure. Does he talk to you, or he would move your shoulder? How does he do it? And I said, well, you pray and you'll see how. And I remember I would wake them up every day, and I told the lieutenant, every day I worked, and some of the soldiers would get drunk, and some of them would not work. And he would come and check, and he would find that on the row that I am on, the corn is picked up faithfully. And he would give me as an example every day. You see how he works? You got to work the same. Well, Friday I went to him and I said, tomorrow I cannot work. It's my day. I worship God. He said, go away. There is no God in this country. I said, I'm not going to work. Yes, you will. I'm not going to work. Yes, you will.
Now you're in the service now. This is not like before. You're under military orders.
You are under order. You don't say no. You say, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I said, I'm sorry. I've been obeying and respectful and do whatever you say. But tomorrow is God's day, and God is above you. So tomorrow I cannot work. He said, you will. I said, respectfully, but I will not. He said, you go to prison. I said, I will. I would rather go to prison. He said, are you crazy? I said, well, I don't know if I am crazy or not. But I said, I want you to know, I will not work. And he smiled and he said, if I let you not work, I can lose my job and my freedom. And I said, well, if you let me not work, the God that is going to take care of me is going to take care of you too. And he looked to me, he called me aside, and he said, don't tell anybody. I'm going to let you not work tomorrow. I hope that your God is going to take care of me and my family. And then he asked me to pray for him. His name was Bărbulescu. Well, after 2 weeks, he was called back to the garrison, and the new one that was Vulpoi, that in English means fox, he was sent. That guy was a mean guy.
He's a tough guy.
Tough guy.
Yeah.
He didn't care for soldiers. He cared just for himself. He called us names. He would not even care if we worked. He would make our life miserable. He did see that I work. But when I went to him Friday and said, I don't work tomorrow, I said, you know, I worked every day. He said, I don't care that you worked. You work tomorrow. And if you work or not, you go in between the corn like everybody else. I said, I will not. Yes, you will. And I'm going to make you go. And if you go to prison, I'm going to make sure that you have a miserable life, that in prison you work. If not, they will beat you to death until you work. And he said, I'm going to make sure that you do that. He called me names. He cursed me. He took, I remember, an apple and threw after me. And I said, I'm not going to work. Get out. Get away. He didn't even want to talk to me. I prayed the whole night. And I remember I had in my mind that I would have to make a decision. I go to prison or I work. And I asked God for strength. It was not easy. And I made up my mind that I'm not going to work. So Saturday morning, I went to him during breakfast. And I told him, I said, I want to talk to you. Get out. I said, regardless if you listen or not, I'm going to say it. You will ruin my life. I will go to prison. But even if you put your gun, I said, in my head, and you shoot me, I will not work because I love God more than my life. And he said, you are crazy. And I said, probably. But I said, you are going to ruin somebody's life. And I said, I will not work. And I said, may God be with me.
Wow.
And he said, you are crazy, aren't you? You are serious, aren't you? I said, yes, I am. Excuse me. So you are willing to go to prison? I said, yes, I am. What am I going to do with you?
Now, I need to stop here and say, when we talk about prison in Romania in communist times, you're not talking about lounge chair, watching TV, sitting back. You know, some of our prisons here in the States can be, having been in prison, it's rough life. but depending on where you go, you're talking about real prison. This is no cakewalk. You're talking about
I have friends
rough times. Yeah.
and relatives that went to prison for having Bibles,
Yes.
and they would be beaten every day, every day. And they stayed in prison until revolution. And I have friends that went to prison for not working Sabbath during the army.
Yes.
They stayed in prison 7, 10, 11 years. Beaten, extremely, extremely difficult life.
Yes.
My cousin was in prison. He lost weight that you would not recognize him. He would wish to die. He would tell you the stories you would not even believe. So basically,
You knew that's what was waiting for you. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or but. That's what was going to be.
yes.
Yeah.
So he said, "You are serious?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he called me to come. It was something like a, like a kitchen, not the cafeteria where everybody was eating.
Yeah.
And he said, "Listen, tomorrow you will not work, but you will do what I'm asking you to do." So I said, "Hey, don't ask me to work because I'm not gonna work." And he said, "Listen, if I let you not work, the others are gonna tell on me and I lose my job and my freedom. I'm not gonna do that for you." But he said, "I'm gonna find a way that they don't know. And when I call on you tomorrow, you better answer." Well, I said, "Can I trust you?" Because I knew he didn't care for anybody and you could not count on his word. He didn't have a word. And he called me names and he said, "Get away. If you don't trust me, then I don't even talk to you." I said, "Well, it's not that I don't trust you, but I tell you, don't ask me to work because I will not work." Saturday morning, he asked every soldier to take 1 row of corn. And then he asked me the last one. So I did. I stood up right in front of in line like everybody else. Now he said, "Soldiers, go ahead, straight forward, start picking corn." And he was waiting to see what I do. And everybody in line, everybody started to walk straight towards the corn to start working. I didn't move. I stood still. And then he looked to me, and after a few seconds, he said, "Goia, come back. I want you to come here and start a fire for me. I am cold. Pick up the wood and start a fire." Turned around, went to him. I said, "I'm not going to start a fire for you." But by this time, soldiers were already entering between the
rows, yes.
rows in
Yes.
the cornfield. And he said, he called me names, and then he said, "Okay, so what are you going to do now? If you stay here, they see that you don't work. Go." And he said to me these very words, "Evaporate, disappear. I don't want to see you. Come tonight." So I walked into the forest, walked until to the next village. And I asked, "Where is the Adventist church?" And I went to the church.
Wow.
After the church, some church members took me home and gave me good food. And after sunset, after having prayer and everything, went back to the forest.
Yes.
And he said, "So, how was your day?" I said, "It was great." I said, "If you touch something, I will make your life miserable. Don't tell anybody anything." So the soldiers would come to me. "So he called you back?" "Yes, he did." "What did he ask you to do?" I said, "Well, I cannot tell you." "Wow. Was it bad?" I said, "Well, I cannot tell you." And they never knew.
And they never knew.
Same second Sabbath. However, after a month of corn, we went back to the garrison for instruction. And it was a different one that was in the Communist Party. Tufan was his name. He was a mean man. He was shameless, godless, and almost like demon-possessed. He was extremely, extremely bad. He came to me and said, "I know who you are. I know what you do. I know what you talk. I know what you eat at home. I know every second of your life. I know what you talk in the house." And he said, "I'll make you eat pork. I'll make you drink. I'll make you work Saturdays. I'll make you curse God. If not, I'll terminate your life. Not just your freedom. I'll make sure that you don't live here."
Isn't it interesting how the Lord allowed you to go over this ground again and again and again, and how the devil put extremely belligerent, mean-spirited, anti-God people in your path, and yet God proved himself faithful every time. And when you read the book, you almost can't wait to get through one miracle, one story, to get to the next one, because there is this consistent God showing himself powerful each and every time. So you go from one bad guy to a worse bad guy, now to a worse bad guy. So walk us through that story.
I remember my father saying, the greater the challenge, the greater the miracle,
Yes.
as long as you are in God's hands.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this guy called me to, meanwhile, some things happened. Meanwhile, soldiers used to steal from the storage room compasses, shoes, tools, and sell them to buy alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And they would ask this soldier to guard, to protect, and he himself would steal, and then they would ask a different one. Eventually, my friend Adrian went to them and said, if you ask Goia, nothing is going to disappear. This guy is honest. So they asked me to oversee the storage room, and when the soldiers would come for fresh socks, I would say, you bring back the ones that you stole in the morning, and I give you new ones. So things started to come back, and nothing disappeared anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then something happened that the driveway was broken. It was paved with nice stones, like square, I don't know how to call them. Very nice, you see in old cities.
Oh, like cobblestones, we used to call them. Yes, 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 yes.
And they didn't know how to fix it, and I fixed the driveway.
Uh-huh.
And then I remember the museum. It was a very old garrison, built in 1500s by one of the kings, way hundreds of years before.
Mm-hmm.
So Alexander John Cuza was the name of the garrison. So they asked somebody to fix the museum, and they didn't know. So I did it. And all the old weapons and swords and things, I covered them in glass, made kind of boxes of glass,
Uh-huh.
covered all the old inscriptions, and just by God's grace, I made it beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing that holds the curtains over the commander, the chief of the whole garrison,
Yes.
over the door, that broke and almost fell onto his head and almost hit him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody knew how to fix it, and I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So there were several things that happened that God used me to help there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, one Sabbath, during some Sabbaths I would hide in the bathroom. During some Sabbaths I would find a way to escape. But one Sabbath, he specifically called me and then put me in front of the other soldiers and ordered me to dig a hole in the ground. And I talked to him and I said, listen, I will not do it. Please don't ask me to do it, because if you would ask me privately, it would be a punishment. But if you would order me in front of the whole company, we call it,
Yes.
that would be a lot worse punishment to disregard his command.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, I'm going to get you in front of everybody, make you do it. If not, I'm going to get the most difficult, the hardest punishment for you. And so he asked me to step forward and to dig a hole in the ground and hide from enemy. There was no enemy, but it was an order.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, when he said that I should dig a hole in the ground, I didn't move. So he ordered me again, and I didn't move. And he ordered me again, and he started to lose his temper, and he started to scream and to get foam at his mouth.
He's angry.
Extreme anger. And he screamed, and he said, you disobey and disregard me in front of the other soldiers, I'll make you pay for it. And screaming, he left us there. He called all the officers of the garrison. And he proposed maximum punishment. During the war would be the capital punishment.
Yeah.
However, during the peace would be 7 to 14 years prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'd just shoot you on the spot. In wartime, you disobey an order. Yeah, yeah, but now it's prison.
So I left the training field, went to the storage room, locked myself inside, and started to pray. And in the beginning, I was asking God for help to protect me. But as I was praying, it came to my mind that God should be the priority, God's honor, God's name, and that I should ask that whatever happens, just that He would give me strength and peace and faith.
Amen.
So I was praying for faith, and as I was praying, He gave me peace.
Praise
I remember
God.
I started to read paragraphs that my girlfriend sent me and started to sing songs. And as I was praying, somebody knocks in the door. It was a sergeant. His name was Chuchu Vasile. No, I'm sorry, Chuchu Marian. It's a long time since.
Yes.
He was a short guy, funny guy. So I opened the door and he said, Pavel, I want you to be honest with me. I said, I am honest with you. Do you know General Voichița? I said, I don't know the general. He was one of the generals of the 4 armies of Romania. He was extremely big. And the general happened that he came without announcing to check, to inspect our garrison. When he came to inspect, he visited the museum and he noticed that it's all covered in glass. And he visited that and that and that and that.
So all the work you had done all the time, the general seeing all of this stuff.
What I didn't know.
Yeah, now this is one of the top guys in the country, not just your little unit. One of the 4 big guys in the country.
In the whole country.
Okay.
And then they had a meeting. And so the sergeant says to me, you sure you don't know the general? No. You don't know anybody in the Central Committee, the Communist Party?
Yeah.
I said, no. You don't know anybody there? No. I said, wow. I said, why? And he says, this is what happened. The general came from Bucharest to inspect the garrison. And they said, we have an emergency meeting, we have to punish a guy. I said, well, before we do that, let's first get done with the inspection.
Yes.
And he said, I noticed that you did that. Who did the museum? And they said, oh, Goia. I noticed that you got the driveway. Who did the driveway? Goia.
Goia.
What about the storage room? It's clean and in order, and before all the shovels were dirty. Right now they were clean. And who did it?
Goia.
Goia. After they talked about everything, he says, okay, who is the guy that you want to punish? And they said, it's Goia. And he said, why would you punish him? What did he do? Fighting, getting drunk. Is he against the country, against the Communist Party? And they said, no, he doesn't get involved in politics. It's just that he doesn't work Saturdays. Does he work the other days? Yeah, he works pretty hard every day. Is he honest? Yes, he is. Does he do proselytism, propaganda, religious propaganda? No. Then what do you have against him? Don't you wish that you had everybody like him? If he's ready to die for his God, don't you think that he would be ready to die for his country too? These are the people that never betray us. We wish we would have more people like him.
Yes.
And he said, you touch him, you lose your jobs.
Uh-oh.
You touch him, you go against me. He said, don't touch this guy.
All right.
So the sergeant said, so you don't know him? I said, no, I don't. It was hard for me to even believe. But after he left, Bărbulescu, the guy that was in the first 2 weeks at Cornfield,
Yes.
he came and says, Pavel, do you know the general? I said, no, I don't know him. You don't lie, you cannot lie. You are an Adventist. I said, no, I don't lie. He told me the same story. So basically, after that, lieutenants and others and captains would come to me and say, hey, Pavel, don't you want to go to church? Yes, I want. You are free to go. Don't you want to go home? Yes, I want. You are free to go. Just call the general and tell him that we take good care of you. They didn't believe that I don't even know him.
You don't know him, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically from that day on, I had the best life among all soldiers there.
Yes.
I ate good food. I would go out anytime I wanted, go home anytime, go to church every Sabbath. They never asked me to work Saturdays again.
Yeah.
They would try to protect me so the general would be happy.
That is powerful. God answered the prayer of Solomon. He gave you what you wanted and what you didn't even ask for. Someone took up your cause who you did not even know. That's how powerful God is. That is an incredible story. I saw that in the book, one of the great miracles in the book. So I think we'll stop here while we are catching our breath and go to some music. We've got some more of these stories. They are fabulous, and I want to commend, you just saw the graphic of the book. Go to your ABC and get, we don't push books that much, but this is not just a book. This is the working of God in a life, and it will encourage. The Bible does say that a good report makes your bones fat. So we are, Pavel, we are fattening ourselves up tonight on some really wonderful stories. Tim Herbert returns, and this sort of fits in with where we're going and what we're talking about, to ask the question, who am I? Well, we're God's children. And when we stand up for him, he does indeed stand up for us. Tim Herbert sings now, Who Am I?
When I think of how he came so far from glory, came and dwelt among the lowly, such as suffer shame and such disgrace. On Mount Calvary take my place. Then I ask myself one question: who am I? That he would pray, not my will, thine flow. The answer I may never know, why he ever loved me so, that to an rugged cross he'd go for Then I'm reminded of these words: I leave thee never. Just be true, and I'll give to you new life forever and forever. Oh, I wonder what I could have done to deserve God's only Son to fight my battles until they're won. For who am I? Who am I that a king would bleed and die for? Who am I that he would pray, not my will, thine flow? The answer I may never know, why he ever loved me so, that to an old rugged cross he'd go. For who am I? That to an old rugged cross he'd go. For who am I?
Well done, Tim Hebert. Who am I? Very powerful question. We are children of the Most High God. I want to take just a moment and remind you, as we are halfway through our second hour, reach out for life. 10 truths from the Bible that will change you forever. Lonnie Melashenko's work. We would be glad to send this out to you. It is indeed our free offer for the evening. Call us 618-627-4651. Email us live, this is free offer at 3abn.org. The live at 3abn.org is your homework assignment. You can call us in, call us at 618-627-4651 or live, L-I-V-E, at 3abn.org for your little homework assignment. A number of people, Janet writes from Trinidad that she was in a coma. Blaine was breathing. Doctor said 96% chance of brain failure, not going to live. Her miracle is basically she's alive and well.
Amen.
That's a miracle from the Lord. Mary, she says a miracle is out of the ordinary or unusual results. She says some people get miracles so that His purpose, that is God's purpose, is fulfilled. Rose answers the same questions. Miracles is a divine work or gift from God. He knows the results will play out for the best. That's why God does miracles in individuals' lives. Then Sharon, this is local from Townsville. A miracle is anything, I read this before, this is that happens beyond logic or reason. And Betty from Ohio, I think we looked at before. Bessie had a miracle in her life at a clothing center. Donna from Georgia has experienced miracles in her life. Here's another one that we didn't get a name on. Anne from New Jersey says that God does these things so that those who do not know Christ will be influenced. And I dare say, so that those who know Christ will also be encouraged. Because these miracles, this series of God inserting Himself into your life must really have strengthened your faith.
Amen.
Because you stand up for Him, and each time that He stands up for you, you know that God is there and He's going to stand up for you again and again. Greg Budd said to me, C.A., you've got to get Pavel to talk about the Many, Many story. It's a chapter in the book. Do you recall what that one was about? Mm-hmm. Many, Many. Tell us what that story is all about. That evidently is Greg's favorite or one of the most powerful ones, but just walk us through that particular story.
Many, Many, that's not his real name.
Uh-huh.
He was one of the children. He was not a child. He was 19 years old, but he looked like a child because he was short. Mm. He had quite a few disabilities. He was handicapped. Uh-huh. He was unable to speak well. He was unable to walk well. He would walk sideways, not use properly his right hand and his right leg. From an extremely poor family. He was begging on the streets. He had many accidents. One time, a car hit him by the marketplace. One time, a bicycle hit him in the train station. Mm. He would not look left and right when he would cross the street. He would just run somehow. Yes. And so, anyway, I remember coming from my sister driving the car, getting home, and planning to get gas, and the next day morning to go to the conference for the meeting, for the pastoral meeting. Mm-hmm. It was a crisis in the country. There was no gas, so you'd stay in long lines to get gas. Mm-hmm. And the gas was limited. It was a ratio. You would get so much gas a month.
Yeah.
And basically, I knew that if I wait until the morning, I may never get in time to the pastoral meeting, so I would have to go now and get gas. And then, so there was no gas station within the town. It would be outside the town limits. The night before, I had a dream. And usually I thought I never dream. I thought just my mom dreams. Mm-hmm. But I would sleep so hard that I probably would not remember the dreams. But that night I woke up crying because in my dream I hit a child with my car and he had blood all over coming. And so I woke up and I told my wife what I dreamed. Well, that day after I got home, my wife was cooking, cleaning. I got in the car and went to the gas station. As I was exiting the city, there are two curves. It's like an S on the road.
Yes.
And you cannot see what is behind because of the trees.
Yes.
And everybody was driving extremely slow. In front of all the cars, there was a horse-pulled wagon, and the wagon was filled up with wood for fire. And the horse-pulled wagon was going so slow,
Yes.
and no car could pass because they would not see what comes.
On the other side, coming at you, towards you, yes, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So they would have to wait, and after the two curves finally pass, when they had visibility. Well, so I had a stick shift. So I put the car in first or second gear and go slow. And I remember after the curves, cars started to pass. So when I got to the next one behind the wagon, I passed, changed in the second, changed in the third gear, and there were cars coming from the other direction on this two-lane road.
Yes.
It was a truck that came, and when the truck was parallel with my car, from behind the truck, Mene jumped right in front of my car.
Wow.
So probably after the truck passed, he started to run.
Yes. Never thought about the car coming the other direction.
Never thought about exactly.
Yes, yes.
And he didn't jump 2 meters ahead or 1 meter or right in front of the bumper. I didn't even have time to push the brake. Hit him.
You hit him full force, no foot on the brake at all.
And then I pushed the brake, but it was after I hit him.
Yes, you hit him, yes.
He went up, he came down, and the car, while stopping, hit him again.
Oh.
And threw him by the side of the road. And he also hit the curb of the side of the road.
When you had your dream the night before, did it happen as you saw in your dream or fairly close? So you saw it pretty much as it happened?
Exactly.
My soul.
And so I didn't know what to do. Stopped there. A few cars stopped. In that time, if you would wait for the ambulance, I'm sorry to say, but the pizza car would come faster than the ambulance, you know. They would never come. So usually what people did in that time, they would put him in the car and
Just take him, yes.
Put him carefully, run him to hospital.
Yes.
So somebody stopped. I remember an old red car, got him in the car, run him to hospital in that town called Red Steel, because it was a steel factory there.
Yes, yes.
And from that town, it happens that one of the doctors, one of the physicians, was my neighbor. And they looked at him and they said, we cannot deal with him. It's too, how to say, the damage is too big.
Too great, yes.
Too great.
Yes, yes, yes.
So they put him in an ambulance, rushed him to the next city that was bigger, to Caransebeș. And there they said, we should send him to Timișoara, to the biggest city in that area. However, they said it may be too late. They did the X-ray, and I remember specifically when they put them on like a box that has glass, and behind the glass some lights that you can see the X-ray. And they put the X-ray, and I remember specifically doctor saying, brain hemorrhage, spine broken in 2 places, right lung broken, and hemorrhage in his lung, arm broken, shoulder and hip both broken, and leg broken in 2 places.
How fast were you going when you impacted him? Do you have any idea?
Around 50 to 55 kilometers per hour. But the impact was so short and so strong that
Yes, yes, yes.
it was not that I didn't have time to slow down at all. And I hit him twice.
Yes, yes.
The other things, the hand, the shoulder, the leg, the hip, they would heal the problem with the brain, the spine, and the lung. That was the worst one.
Yes, yes.
Because he could not breathe. It was blood in his lung, and you could hear him gargle into his own blood, you know. And so they put him to life support. And in just short time, the heart...
The flat line, they call it here, yes. yes.
Flat line came, and
yes.
They checked his pulse, and he had no blood pressure, no pulse. The heart stopped, and they just covered him. I remember the doctor declaring him dead, you know.
Can I ask you at this moment, because I've read the end of the story, what were you feeling just now? you hit somebody. It wasn't your fault, really, but that doesn't free you from the trauma of having...
In the beginning, I was calm. But as time would go by, I started to shake, and I started to think about it. And I had in my mind that I would rather die myself than to know that I took somebody's life.
Yes.
I could not bear it. And I started to think about me being a pastor and people being so superstitious, you know, and sometimes so much prejudice around. People saying the Adventist pastor killed that kid, you know.
Yes.
So I started to pray, and I remember one of the doctors, some of them knew me there, and one of them coming and saying, "Pastor, it's not your fault. Nobody's going to do anything against you. It doesn't help to pray anymore. You could have prayed when he was alive. Right now, it's too late." There were nurses, there were doctors there, everybody trying to save his life. And he says, right now, it's too late. He's dead. Nobody's going to bring him back. Not even God can bring him back. What I don't agree, because God is the one who gives us life after all.
Oh, yes.
He's the creator, you know.
Yes.
Well, they asked me to leave. They said, no reason to stay here anymore. He's dead. I went home, and my wife and I prayed the whole night. We did not sleep a second. And we prayed like never before, to the point that I said, God, if you want, take my life and give it to him. Just please work for your name's sake, work that people will not talk against the church.
Now that's what I was going to ask you. What was the burden of your prayer? Because he's been declared dead. Are you praying for him, for yourself, that God's name be glorified? You're up all night, you're agonizing with God. What's the focus? What are you praying for specifically?
I was struggling with all of them, all of the above. I was struggling with the fact that I killed somebody, and I was struggling with the fact that the church is going to suffer because of me, and God's name is going to be, I don't know how to say it in English.
Yeah.
Misrepresented or...
Well, we'd say dragged in the mud.
Thank you, dragged in the mud.
Yeah.
And so I prayed for all of the above. And basically I said, God, just find a way that the church is not going to be criticized over the news, over the papers, over the, you know, and it's not going to affect the church, and your name will not be, and, you know, you will work in this area. And I pleaded with God and prayed the whole night, literally prayed hard. I remember one more time I prayed that when my son had an accident just 2 years ago, the same, you know. So I actually, excuse me, my wife and I prayed the whole night until morning. And in the morning I went back to hospital. And he was in the bed, sitting and eating. And the doctors were talking that when the men came in the morgue in the morning, found him sitting on that cold table, concrete table, and the guy started to run and called others, and they came and they decided that he had clinical death or a very deep coma. I don't know how you call it. I don't know what that is, but anyway, that he was not totally dead. But the problem they had was the X-ray. They would analyze the yesterday X-ray and today's X-ray.
X-ray, yes.
And they would say, you can see it here, brain damage and hemorrhage. There is no brain damage here. Broken spine, there is no broken spine here. Broken lung and hemorrhage, there is no broken lung and hemorrhage here. Yet his bones were still broken, the hand, hip, shoulder, and leg.
Yes, but the life-threatening, serious stuff was gone.
Moreover, the big problem was that they could not explain is this. He could never talk before. He was
he was a mute. He could not speak.
He did speak, but he was I forgot the name when you say, but you know, when you repeat.
Oh, he stuttered.
Stuttered.
He stuttered, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
The word didn't come to me. He was a stutterer. And even the words that he said, they were not clear. You could not make sense. You could not understand him. He was speaking clear and nice. So God made him better than before.
Glory to God. Not only did the Lord repair him, he improved him. Praise God.
The whole town, I mean, the news went so fast.
I'm sure.
We did evangelism. The church was packed. 44 people got baptized.
Glory to God.
The whole town was talking. I remember it was a crisis. You could not find anything. I went to the grocery store. I was looking for oil to cook, for canola, vegetable oil. And they had no oil. And I remember the lady from the cashier, like, she called the manager and said, called her by name, I don't remember the name, and said, can you get for the Adventist pastor some oil from the back, from the storage that we have for ourselves? He can pray for you too, you know.
God truly glorified himself in that incident. That's the kind of thing, the kind of empirical evidence that just defies logic. That's a miracle. You've got a brain hemorrhage the night before, the next morning it is gone.
I cannot help but say this. The same God that split the sea before,
yes,
and did so many miracles in the Bible, he never changed.
No.
And he is here to work through us, to use us, to help us.
Yes.
And many times, we don't even have the courage to ask more than we can do ourselves.
Very true.
And many times we don't trust him enough. And it's like the paragraph that says that we should ask him big things, not small things.
Yes, yes. And this is a big thing. This is a big thing. And I think the focus of your prayer was, Lord, glorify your name. Just glorify your name. You know, show yourself powerful in these things. And of course, when you ask that prayer, that's the kind of prayer that God's got to answer for his own glory. What a powerful, you know, I've read that story initially, I ran across it again today in preparing for this show. And every time it sends chills up and down my spine. It makes you so humble that we serve a God who will go to those lengths. This kid was gone, and God brought him back and improved his speech. What a wonderful, powerful witness, testimony for the church and for the love of the Lord. And of course, 44 baptisms, that's proof enough. Powerful. I've read this book twice. Once, quite a bit ago, and sort of skimmed through it today. Tell me a story that's not in the book, because I know things are happening even to this day, but outside of it, because this book is one point in your life. Your life goes on. You're pastoring today, successfully pastoring, something that's not in the book.
There are several of them. I want to give one that is a little funny, about our grand caravan, about our car. And I remember we decided we are not going to ask God for anything that we don't use for him.
Yes.
So if we would buy a car, we would pray that we would use that car primarily for God and then for ourselves. And if we get a house, we would use the house first for God, and we will never ask God for anything that we cannot use for him. And for instance, we got our first furniture. Church members would come over, they would come with children would jump on the new couch. I would get my ears red. My wife would know when my ears are red, it means I am tense. So she would call me in the kitchen and she would say, calm down. And I would say, don't you see the children? They jump with the shoes on our new couch.
Yes.
And my wife would say, didn't we pray that our primary use would be for God? Aren't these children more important than our couch? Don't you want to gain their friendship and to save them and their parents more than to save your couch? And I would say, honey, you are right. So my ears would cool down. I would go back to the living room and just pretend I don't see it. And in fact, some of the parents mentioned that, and they said, we cannot believe how much you love our children, how patient you are. They didn't know the story, but anyway. The same with the car. We got a Dodge Grand Caravan that we prayed that we use it for God. We basically used it more for my wife's job. Not much for the church. And somehow the transmission broke. We got a second-hand transmission, paid the labor, paid the transmission, got it fixed. Just 3 months later, it broke again. I hated the car. I mean, who wants to spend so much money? If I sold the car, I would not recover that money.
Sure.
We got a new transmission again, second-hand. pay the labor again, fixed it again. And I said, I'm not going to use the car again.
Yes.
Put it for sale. Hopefully somebody's going to buy it.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I started to pray, God, help me sell the car. Help me sell the car. Nobody called. Like, everybody knew that my car has a bad transmission.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody called. After 2 months, put it in the newspaper, put it on the cable, on Craigslist, put even on the windshield a paper that is for sale, lower the price. Nobody called. I got so upset. And I remember coming to my mind what my father said, that whatever is not for God should not even exist in our life. That we have no reason to live if we don't live for God. And it came in my mind, you want to sell the van, but you do it for yourself. So I was driving the van from Beloit to Janesville, Wisconsin. Started to pray a different prayer. I said, God, I'm not going to ask you to sell the van. I'm going to ask you one of the two things. If it sells, give it to somebody who is going to use it for you.
Yes.
If it doesn't, help me from now on to use it for you first.
Yes.
And then for ourselves.
Yes.
I finished the prayer. 15, 20 seconds. My cell phone ringed. It was one of my church members. She said, Pastor, do you still have that van? I said, yes, I do. And she says, I want to buy the van. I said, well, you know that I had some transmission problems. Yeah, I know, don't worry about it. I said, why would you buy the van? And she said, I want to drive people to evangelism who don't have transportation.
Oh,
and she had
God.
the Dodge Neon, that was a small car.
Yes, yes.
She said, there is no room in my car. I want to drive children to school, so I want to use it for God, and I need a van.
Yes.
And she said, how much you want? I said, well, that's the price. But I said, how much you have? I said, I have this money. And that was kind of half of my price. But I said, listen, pay whatever you have. That would be enough. She was happy. And I trusted the Lord. I was happy with it. Many years after, the car didn't break again. The car kept going and going.
Because it was in the Lord's hands now. So it didn't break down again. Praise God. That is a fabulous story. God is so good. I want to, before our time gets away, because I'm looking at the clock and we're slipping away, you have talked a number of times tonight about your wife. Tell me a little about, she must have been a woman of great faith. How did you meet her?
This is a long story. I put my eyes on her when she was 3 years old and I was 6 years old.
Okay. That's a good early start.
And I said I like her and I would like to marry her. And basically, my sister would say, you don't know what you talk. You are going to change your mind many times.
Yes.
Well, I kept watching her. And when we were in about, I don't remember, sophomore or whatever in high school, I started to talk to her. And I remember one time I had a handkerchief that I used some spray like Giorgio Armani that I didn't use. I kept it just for her. I noticed her crying and I just gave her the handkerchief and somehow got her attention.
Smooth guy.
But this is what happened. I remember I would purposely, when she would go to school, I would make sure that I go in the same time, so we would walk together to school.
Okay.
And I started to talk to her about my experience with God. And I would say, what do you study? And she would say, I don't study, though she would go to church. And I would tell her what I study. The books from the Spirit of Prophecy, the Bible, and what God is doing for me and how God works in my life, in my father's life. And she would listen, and we got closer and closer friends, to the point that we started to meet and study and pray together.
Praise God.
And she started to study alone, and we would, everyone at his house, study at the same time. We'd wake up at 5:30, pray in the same time, study in the same time, same book, same chapters.
I see, you together.
And then we would meet in the garden of the school and share our thoughts.
Praise God. Now, Pavel, I want to stop you because as good as this story is, I want to get your contact information up because, again, you've heard this wonderful story, series of wonderful miracles. You may want him to come to speak to your group. You certainly will want to get information on how to get this book. Just a wonderful story, a wealth of information, and really something that will encourage you as you walk with the Lord and meet the struggles of each day, knowing that God is with you. Should you want to make contact with Pastor Pavel Goia, here is how you can do precisely that.
If you would like to contact Pavel to invite him to your church to speak, then you can write to Pavel Goia, 385 Reading Road, Apartment 177, Lexington, Kentucky, 40517. That's Pavel Goia, 385 Reading Road, Apartment 177, Lexington, Kentucky, 40517. You can also email him at pgoia777@gmail.com. That's pgoia777@gmail.com. Call or write to him today. He'd love to hear from you.
My staff is wondering if I'm going to answer those 4 questions that we asked at the very beginning of the show, but I think you've done a very fine job with your homework, and I do give you an A. Valentine and Evangeline and Janet and Mary and Rose and Sharon and Betty and Bessie and Donna and No Name and Ann and No Name and No Name and No Name and Mary Ann. You all get an A on your homework assignment. The answer is, of course, when God steps in and does something outside of time and space and the natural order of things, that's a miracle. The good thing to know is that we serve a God who is as much in the miracle-working business today, tonight, right now, as he ever was. God still works miracles in the lives of men and women. Pavel Goia is case in point. There are so many stories. He's got a list here of miracles that is as long as your arm. We could spend hours talking about the miracles of God. But these are not just the miracles of one man. These we serve a God who is interested in our salvation and in glorifying his name. And when you surrender yourself to him, I still think the greatest miracle is a person whose life turns from old to new, who puts his life in the hands of God and becomes a brand new creature. That is a great miracle. Our time has fast slipped into eternity. Allow me, please, in closing, to wish you grace and peace through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye, and God bless.